Guys, have any of you watched Black Dove yet?
Not yet, no.
Oh, it's amazing, right? It's on Netflix. I binged it over Christmas. And what I particularly loved about it is that one of the big fight scenes was in a shipping container yard. Where else?
Absolute classic.
Every time. You know, in a film or a series, when they pan to shipping containers, shit's going down.
Absolutely. It's
Dexter, he was in a shipping container.
Oh,
He?
really?
Yeah.
It's the only place I fight. I do a fight club in them.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'll go down Cardiff Dock, see if I can spot you.
By the way, you shouldn't talk about that.
Sorry, yeah. This isn't going out, right?
Well, guys, if you want to do something with a shipping container that does not involve violence, I would highly recommend researching line containers because they provide storage containers, keep your goods dry, safe, secure. Also, they can modify them into basically anything you want. What would you modify your dream container into?
I think, and weirdly, I had the idea straight away when you looked at me. I'd like to open a barber shop in a shipping container.
Would you?
I think it'd be really fun.
Let's make that. You've got a good do on you as well.
Bless
You've
you.
always got
Robin
good hair.
Terry's magnificent.
Bless you.
Always really good. What would your dream shipping container
It'd be an Avery for Hawks.
Of course it would be. Great. Well, I really hope this is the sponsorship line containers wanted because it's the one they're getting, you know? But look, I'm sure all those things are possible. So if you want...
definitely isn't.
If you want an Avery or a barbershop, get in touch with linecontainers.co.uk. Hello and welcome to For Wales, See Wales with me, Mel Owen.
Me, Robin Morgan.
And me, Will Hayward.
Guys, how are we doing this week?
I'm happy. I'm pretty good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
In January, you're happy.
I think so.
That's pick-me behaviour.
Yeah, exactly. I've paid my tax bill. I'm happy. I'm
Oh,
fine.
nice.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't nice, but
No.
yeah, sure. But
No.
we powered through.
Will, how are you? Welcome back to the UK.
Thank you. I was in the Red Sea, at the Red Sea, so it's a bar.
Yeah.
I was twerking at the Red Sea, you
Yeah,
know what it
yeah.
is, yeah.
I went, did a lot of snorkeling in the Red Sea, which was very fun.
What'd you see?
I saw the cast of Finding Nemo.
Great.
In Skinny Turtles, throwback to last week.
Yeah, some skinny queens.
Yeah.
I saw for the first time. I saw a completely white ray. Like, as in a ray, as in the animal.
Oh, not like Windstone.
Yeah. He's a very white ray.
He's a
I was going to say, they tend to be completely white.
Except for Ray Charles.
Yeah, famously.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, they're very defined in their colour. Oh, what am I doing with this? So it was really good. I don't think I was quite ready for the flight back, which felt a bit like I was in... You know when Florence Nightingale was in the Crimea and it was just surrounded by just people dying? That was what the flight back was like. It was people who just sounded really, really, really ill.
Really?
Oh, God, because
Yeah.
everyone's got this kind of weird COVID flu thing.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a ticking time bomb. Sorry to say
Okay,
this, but-
I'm thrilled I'm sat opposite you.
Yeah. I'm really glad you dropped this in now, that
Yeah.
we've already been infected.
Absolutely. We've been sharing
was
a coffee.
Everybody like coughing on the plane and all
I hate
that.
that.
A lot of people coming on the plane.
Somebody in the post office the other day, and I'm anti-violence, but this woman was coughing down my neck, and I thought, if I one backhander,
Yeah.
you don't need to be that close to me. That's the thing.
May I ask you a personal question? Of
course,
Why
yeah.
were you in the post office?
I had a parcel to return to.
Is it like a Vinted thing? Or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Why was that the question?
Yeah, I don't know. I like asking people, can I ask you a personal question? And I feel like it really puts people...
It threw me.
Yeah.
It really threw me.
Oh, yeah, I saw. All the guilt to the front of your brain.
It's like he knows.
Yeah, exactly. But what does he know?
I mean, what I really pissed me off about the flight is...
Oh, we cool. Yeah,
we're back to you.
Yeah, go
Okay,
on.
sure.
No, please do tell us.
Don't want to now.
Go on, please.
It was an overnight flight, so I thought, well, it'll be good because I can sleep on the plane and then ready to go. The woman behind me was one of the people who sleeps on the table, like the fold-down table.
Oh, God.
But every time she changed position, she like smashed her head into her arms to sleep. So every time I fell asleep, she'd change over and then just like give herself a concussion.
Was she doing okay?
She wasn't. Her husband was also going constantly all the way through it. So
Christ.
yeah. And they got searched as they went through customs, and I was like, yes, justice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was came back from New York just on the day before New Year's Eve, and you know that bit where it's like nothing to declare.
Yeah.
What do you have to declare?
No idea.
I've never understood
I've
that.
always just assumed nothing.
Because it's drugs, right? You declare if you've got drugs.
I don't think that's how it works, though, is it? You don't go, you got me, guys.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say anything. But
I love heroin, but I'm also a truth teller.
I got to Mexico and I was waiting for my my suitcase to come off the carousel. Brilliant. And this sniffer dog went mental at me. And it looked like my dog was a black lab. And I was like, oh, Mexican Cleo did not like me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And you know when you're like, I could have an AK-47 in there. You know when you're just like, I clearly do. I clearly have a kilo of cocaine in my suitcase.
What if you put your bag down on someone else's coke and it just rubbed off?
This is the thing. And I was like, I'm going. And the thing is, because I'm quite ethnically ambiguous, everyone in Mexico thinks I'm Mexican.
Sure.
So they're shouting at me in Spanish. And I'm going, no hablo español. And they're like, we know you do. And then they're like shouting at me. And then in the end, I basically, through a lot of gestures, they were like, open the case. And they're rummaging through and I can just see my underwear being on show to like the whole of the airport. I was like, And do you know what it was? Welsh cakes. I'd taken Welsh cakes out to my friend who was living there and they took those and they trotted off.
No way.
The guard of Mexican Cleo took them away.
You know they ate them.
Oh, they so ate them. Do you know what? Like that dog was hungry. It'd been on a 12-hour shift and they were like, there's some goods in there.
I love that. You should get a job for as a Welsh ambassador.
You're right, yeah. Just going to get shouted
One
at.
Mexican dog at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But it was very stressful. And my poor friend was waiting for me in arrivals with this lovely banner, like on Love Actually, that was like, welcome, bienvenido. Yeah. And then I just came out in tears.
Sure you don't speak Spanish?
I was like,
Come
I'm
on
so
now.
fluent.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm airports as a brown person are spicy.
I can't ever imagine, it's an extra thing that I never have to think about.
You just have to leave an extra 45 minutes for your random bag check.
I'm not saying it's harder for me than it is for brown people.
Great, can't wait to see where this is going.
Strap in.
Yes.
But I have you'll be surprised to hear because I'm such an alpha male, but I have quite a few allergies.
Sure, yeah. I thought you were going to say piercings and they set up a thing.
I actually used to have my eyebrow pierced.
Did you have your eyebrow pierced?
I had my eyebrow pierced and I had the top of my ear pierced. And
I had the top of my ear pierced.
Did you? Did you have a hoop?
No, I had a stud there.
Naturally.
And I think I started to try and tunnel that, but then I just got scared. But when I was in the death metal band, Black Despondency, shout out, I had two piercings there.
No way.
So at uni, some of my much hencher mates, they all went out as 300. When guys all used to go out as 300?
Yeah.
But I obviously physically wouldn't really play the part, so I did
150.
Yeah, so I did a chain from my eyebrow to my ear and just went as the really camp Persian prince.
I love that. Have you got pictures?
No. Now, contrary to everything that you've seen so far, we are a politics podcast.
Yeah.
And we are going live.
Yes.
We've got a
We
date
are.
for the live show.
Yes, we do.
2nd of March.
The 2nd of March.
Yeah.
Not St. David's Day, the day after St. David's Day.
Yeah.
When you're on a daffodil hangover.
Absolutely. In the daytime. It's
Yeah.
going to be an afternoon show in Cardiff at the Cardiff Glee Club, a brilliant comedy club down Cardiff Bay. And it's going to be doing a live show on the Sunday, the 2nd of March.
Tickets will be released very soon.
Yeah.
Could they be out when this podcast drops?
Let's say they're already out.
Yeah.
And then if they're not, they will be in the next 24 hours.
Absolutely. And listeners of this podcast get a sweet discount.
Oh, yeah. 20%.
20%, which, that's decent.
That's very decent.
Decent amount. We need to have a promo code or something.
Yeah.
FWSW20.
Yeah.
There we
okay.
go.
Nice.
FWSW20. Great, that works. That's
Wonderful.
the promo code.
That was really clean, guys. That was great podcasting.
We smashed that.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Come along and see the live show. We've got some really, really fun things planned. It's going to be the same nonsense that you hear, but crucially the bits that we edit out, which, legally... Whoa.
But you're going to be there for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you enjoy the show, then you'll absolutely love this live show. So come along, spread the word, bring your friends. Nice little Sunday afternoon out.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be great. I'm buzzing for it.
Because I think a key part of starting this was to create a bit of a community around discussing
Yeah, for
Welsh
sure.
politics. So we'd like to get people down. We'll have a chat after as well. It'll be a really nice thing.
There might even be merch. I'm very excited about this. Very excited. Should we kick off today's episode though?
Yep. Let's talk about some trains.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Choo-choo.
Okay, so we've got a few things to talk about today, but I want to start by talking about some indications that the UK government and the Welsh government have made regarding Wales getting its share of HS2. So, as we know, as we've discussed previously quite a bit, Wales did not get any consequential funding from HS2, even though all of the line will be in England. It was defined as an England-Wales project, which essentially shafted Wales out of. You can debate the number, let's say 4 billion, which is a transformative amount of money. Now, The Tories completely dismissed this and said, well, Wales people will be able to use it when they go to England. So there's no way Wales is going to get the money. Over the last kind of 5 years, Labour have been saying how outrageous it is that this wasn't going to happen. Jo Stevens, who is now the Welsh Secretary, but when she was in opposition, said it's utterly illogical to designate HS2 as an England and Wales project. But then, once the election campaign started, said there just isn't the money there.
Yeah.
Now, however, it seems like things might be changing because sources within the UK government have said that this week, it might have even come out by the time this episode drops, that they will indicate a direction of travel. Oh, in fact, they did a double pun here. They would signal a direction of travel.
Oh, no, do you know what? Just concentrate on the policy at this point, please.
Because that probably delayed it by about 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Which is very on brand for trains.
Imagine them all tapping themselves on the back as well. Be like, we smashed that.
Absolutely.
They said that the government would be making efforts to fix the historic underinvestment in rail in Wales exacerbated by HS2. So, in our predictions episode, we predicted that they would give some money to Wales, but it wouldn't come close to the amount that Wales is owed. Sources I've spoken to within the UK government indicate that they feel that what they are going to be doing is not just giving Wales some money, they're going to be righting the wrong in terms of how rail funding is designated to different areas so that this can't happen again.
Right.
Now, whether this works totally remains to be seen. The Welsh government are very, very confident that they're going to be getting something that they can go, hey, look at what these two governments at either side, the M4, have done. The amount of money will really kind of set out how serious they are about this. Because if this is like £200 million and that's it, and there's not going to be more forthcoming, that really is kind of a rip-off for Wales. That's essentially 5% of what Wales could be owed. When I spoke to sources within the UK government, they were very, very annoyed that people were already been negative about this. Because their argument is, we can't undo 14 years of underinvestment in the space of just 6 to 9 months, and that it will take time to do it. But I think the reason it frustrates me that they say that, and I do agree. I mean, it's hard for them, and they are clearly going to do something. They wouldn't be putting all of this stuff out there if they weren't going to do something. But ultimately, they, as a party, have campaigned multiple times on what an injustice this is. And if you identify something as a wrong that needs to be righted, and then you only half right it, I don't think it's unreasonable for people to be a bit like, that isn't on.
Oh, there's a question mark over that for sure. Yeah, I think it's very reasonable to say, like, we can't undo 14 years worth of stuff. Like, 100% understand that. But when it's not fully sorted, people are going to have questions still.
Yeah, exactly. You can't be completely happy with it, can you? If there is potentially that money that could have come along. Equally, as we've said before, life is nuanced. Yeah. If there was a Conservative government in Westminster, this money wouldn't be coming along, and £200 million, if that's how much it is, will still help in certain aspects. Yeah. But it's how much do you ask for? Like, what could the Welsh government do to get more money out of it? It seems like from the conversations that Leonard in your interview was quite sort of like there was no money being put on it then, and it was kind of, we don't know. Jo Stevens saying there's no money for it. Feels like things have happened since then.
Progress.
Could you still hold out for more? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And although it's important Wales gets money now, it's most important is that this just can't keep happening. Yeah. That we don't sit here in 20 years and think, well, Wales is still getting shafted. So actually, this could be quite a transformational thing long term. My concern is that they will just kind of half-arse it, and it will be a bit like, in a way that devolution was designed, it's a bit back of the fag packet calculations. Leonard Morgan did say, speaking to the BBC, every time I see poor Keir Starmer, I ask him for our share of that money. So I will stand up for Wales at every opportunity. But I will also take advantage of the fact we have a government in Westminster now of the same colour, who started to turn on the taps of public services. I believe she means rosettes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I thought she called him Porky.
Porky Starmer.
Porky Starmer. Oh, Porky Starmer.
Just casual, like, bullying. Yeah. That's how she does business.
Every time I see Porky, I was like, give me your money.
I do quite like the idea that that's all she says when she meets him. He's like, oh, Leonard, welcome to London. And she's like, can we have our money?
Yeah.
Porky.
Porky.
Proper Bob Geldof.
Yeah.
Give us your money.
I think this issue's cut through more than it ever has before, but I still wouldn't say that most people in Wales are really across it.
Well, this is going to be my question.
Yeah.
If Elena Morgan says, we, as a Labour government, both sides of the M4, have secured £300 million. It's going up by 100 million every time I say this. X amount of million pounds for you. This couldn't have happened without a Labour government. If you vote for Reform, if you vote for Plaid, this won't happen. This is because we've got two ends of the M4. How many people will be able to go, oh, that's true. This is good. This is good news. Obviously, then it's for the opposition parties to go, well, hang on, 5 billion has been thrown around. You're pathetic. But... And that's how I... If
Porky,
I was in,
you're pathetic.
You're
pathetic little
you're
porker.
basic. You're basic. But if I was in opposition, that's how I would act.
Oh, I'd love to see you
I would
there,
act like
opposite the smash bar.
Yeah, I would act like
You're
a GP
basic
receptionist.
bitch.
You're basic. Everyone's talking about you. I should go into politics.
You should have turned into Mean Girls.
Yeah,
Great.
I'd love
Yeah.
that, man.
Yeah.
But my point is, they can announce this as a big package. If they communicate it well, this money will help people. It's better than nothing. But is that the status quo? Is that going to shift the status quo of where polling is? And is that going to really cut through to people? Or do not enough people know about the injustice of it to make it seem, oh, actually, this is great news?
We've discussed before about how when the UK Labour government took over, and won the election, it almost came as a bit of a surprise for them, and they didn't seem to have anything ready to go, despite the fact they'd been in government for they'd been in opposition for a long time.
Yeah.
What I think needs to happen is if they announce however many million for Wales, or hopefully however many billion for Wales, if we're actually going to be accurate in terms of what the shortfall has been, it needs to not be, we're giving this money to Wales. The Welsh government then needs to be saying, right, we have this money, we are doing X, Y, and Z with it.
Sure.
They'll have an interesting choice, because actually if they get a large amount of money, they could just, that doesn't have to go on rail. That isn't ring fence. They could say, actually, we're going to put this into the NHS or into schools. But I think the problem with doing that is then all the issues with rail are on them, because they haven't chosen to invest this money. If they say, we need that money because our railways are rubbish, and then they put it into a different area, whatever the merits of doing that, I think it'll be quite hard that's a quite hard case for them to argue. If I was them, as soon as that money's announced, said, right, we've got this money, we are going to build X, Y, and Z. We are connecting, Aber to Carmarthen.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Speaking of Aberystwyth, anywhere would be great.
Aber to, anywhere at all. Whether they'll have that ready to go, I don't know. They'd be so stupid not to.
Yeah.
They'd be so stupid not to say, they've given us this money. This is what you're now going to see. Because we saw with 20 miles an hour that people care much more about things they can visibly see. Oh, that sign has changed. I am now obsessed with this, and this is a big thing. If you just say, we're adding this much to this pot into going into schools, it just gets lost in the messaging.
The communication with the public, I think, with the Welsh government consistently since devolution has been pretty poor. And I think that has really... it's downplayed some of their big successes. That's the problem. And like you say, if people see something tangible like 20 mile an hour, the sign has changed, the public can grasp onto it. So I really hope that there is some kind of flagship policy where we see like public transport generally improve in Wales, because just for like economic growth more than anything. People being able to access certain areas, not having to leave their hometowns, being able to stay in Wales, because the public transport here is so dire, and I had not appreciated how bad it was until I was using it elsewhere.
Yeah.
There
had been plans previously before kind of the Liz Truss stuff. There was some plans.
For the crushing of the economy?
She'll sue you, be careful.
That's so mad, isn't it, by the way?
She'll sue you. I just like, who did she like? She's the cease and desist against Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
How about it's fact? Liz Truss?
It's so funny that she's got the lawyers in, and also that she briefed PR to say, I've sent this cease and desist letter. I find it hilarious.
The relentless drive for attention.
It's so funny, man.
It's ultimate pick-me behaviour.
She's meant to just like put it where that belongs, and by that I mean on Judge Rinder, and get them to sort it out in that way.
Yes.
I'd be here for it.
It'd be great.
Porky versus Truss.
He's a lawyer. Yeah. He's a lawyer.
Very good one.
Yeah.
Quite a high up one, famously.
Yeah, it's...
Sorry, the Liz Truss stuff, yeah.
So the Welsh government had previously had plans to try... one of the ideas they'd had was to make all bus journeys in Wales 50p.
Ooh.
And imagine if they actually said, we've been given this money, so anybody who uses a bus in Wales now, it's 50 pence.
Yeah.
Whatever the length of journey, you will just pay 50p for a day. And you subsidise it in that way. If they came out and said, because buses actually are used more than trains in Wales.
Yeah.
Quite significantly more. And if you were to say to people in Wales, and a lot of these are people who might want to go to Reform.
Yeah.
If you were to say to them, we've actually just said you can now get the bus for 50 pence. I'd use buses more. I don't use buses because it's really quite expensive just to go. Like, if you want to do it, especially if you've got like 2 kids, you and your partner want to go into town with your kids, that's actually quite a lot more.
I weigh it up depending on parking in Cardiff city centre now is much more expensive, as I think it should be, and it does make me use public transport more or cycle in more. My kids are not at the age where they need to pay for public transport yet, and if I ever speak to them, they'll never be of the age, because even if they're 25, I'll say you're 3 years old.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
There'll be some money forthcoming. How much it'll be remains to be seen, and whether they do anything with it which will make a kind of a tangible difference, a visual difference to people in Wales, also remains to be seen. But for the sake of Wales, I hope they do.
Yeah, and I think whatever they use this money for, just communicate it well.
Yes.
An absolute blitz on social media, get your best people front and centre and show people how it's going to impact them, whether it is 50p buses or whatever, because I think the communication is so basic and in very traditional channels, which
Quite
is just
analog.
100%.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can think, not targeting specifically at the people who are going to vote Reform in 26, but get this message out to the whole of Wales of what you're doing with this money, because I think there aren't going to be many what's the phrase, silver bullets.
Yeah,
there aren't going to be
true.
many silver bullets left for them to play in the next just over 12 months. This arguably is one of them, and they've got one. They've not to go full 8 Mile, but they've got one shot. Mom spaghetti is everywhere. Let's not fuck it up.
Right, I can't
Get
top
me
that.
in government.
Guys, it's quite cool doing your own podcast, isn't it?
I love it.
I feel like a white man.
And you look like one. It's great fun, and this podcast is produced by Heyman Media, who are a Newport company, and what they do, they have a podcast studio, and anyone can come and do their own podcast on any topic, whether it be football. Give me a really niche topic, Robin.
Oh God, Pokemon cards.
You could do your Pokemon podcast, Mel.
And breeding horses.
Breeding horses, or if you're a company and you want to increase your Google rating, or you want to promote your business or show your expertise, you can come here. You can just do audio, you can do video, they can edit it for you, they can put it online for you, or they can just give you like the raw stuff and you can edit it yourself. And the website is heymanmedia.co.uk. Give them a shout. They are a great group of people and they help make this much better than it deserves to be.
We love them.
They're brilliant.
So, Reform. Robin, in your predictions, you made a prediction about Oliver Lewis.
I didn't
you? What was your prediction?
I think my prediction was that he would either become Reform's party leader, or we would hear a lot about him and he'd been able to communicate Reform's wishes for Wales very effectively.
Yeah, so he did the rounds. So I interviewed him at the Reform conference back in the autumn. He's done the rounds with the BBC and Wales Online, and has been doing, essentially putting himself as, he is the spokesperson for the party in Wales. He's not the leader of the party in Wales. He comes across as not insane, which is a massive bonus for them. He made some claims, though. He actually, instead of saying we're going to get a lot of seats, he actually said that he believed that Reform could form the next government in Wales. That was what he said. He also said that he was asked about immigration, and this was what he told the BBC. Wales has had really very limited levels of immigration, and the immigration that we have had has arguably been very positive for the economy. So immigration is much less a factor for politics in Wales than, say, England, particularly in the southeast. My primary motivation is reform of the state, to make sure we grapple with our failing institutions and make them deliver better for the people in Wales. Immigration is, of course, a huge issue across all of the UK, but it's not the only motive for people supporting us. This election is not about immigration. Immigration is not devolved, and it's reserved competency for Westminster. So, apparently, Reform aren't really about immigration in Wales. Now, I believe that he believes that. But I hosted hustings before the last general election. All any Reform candidate would talk about is immigration. When I did the East Cardiff hustings, all that candidate would say is, oh yeah, the reason that people aren't able to get a doctor's appointment is because of immigration. The reason that schools are overcrowded is because of immigration. So I went to the Reform conference, and all anyone was really talking about, well, not all anyone, probably the main topic of conversation was immigration. What he's trying to do is portray a reasonable side of reform.
Yeah.
What's going to be quite interesting is that Labour's response to this, because forced immigration UK-wide is at the highest it's ever been, ever now. And Keir Starmer has said that he wants to keep pushing that even higher. And so I wonder if Labour to Reform could push back and be like, to all those ones who are saying immigration, well, if you've got a problem with immigration, Labour's the one dealing with it. But do they want to tussle in the mud with that bullshit?
I think that's what Rishi was trying to do UK-wide.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to go further to the right to try and combat reform, and it obviously didn't work because they're the establishment. I think it would feel really smelly for Welsh Labour to start going, well, actually, look at Reform not caring about immigration. We're the ones who do.
Yeah.
I mean, you could show Reform voters that exact quote that they think that immigration is a positive thing for Wales. I mean, that line feels incredibly centre ground, doesn't it? And I think to a lot of Reform voters, they would probably disagree with that. What they would agree with is the fact that the state needs reforming. I feel like it is just a protest vote at this point, similarly to Brexit. This is a way of putting two fingers up to the establishment of people who feel like they haven't been listened to. And I think at the moment, as we said earlier, Labour or Plaid need to show how they can tangibly change people's lives as opposed to just being a protest vote. I thought it was really interesting what he said.
Yeah.
Well, he is obviously trying to say the thing that is going to maximise their chances of winning votes.
Yeah.
That is ultimately what they're doing. Every party needs to avoid what the Tories under Badenoch are doing at the moment, is where all they're saying is, oh yeah, Reform are right. Instead of challenging them on like what they're saying about certain things, they will just say, oh yeah, Reform are right, but vote for us.
Yeah.
They essentially, they're not trying to disagree with Reform on anything. What Oliver Lewis did say was that he thought that the party could win 40 MSs.
Yeah.
Now, because of how proportional our system is, if you want to win 40 MSs, given we've got 96 MSs in the next election, you need to win essentially just over 40% of the vote.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That is a hell of a lot, especially because there are still people who are going to vote Tory. And I would say that the right of Wales is essentially about 40%, give or take. So that would require everyone who is inclined to vote Reform, voting Reform, and not voting Tory. And I think that is an incredibly... I mean, obviously he's posturing, but I just don't see how they're remotely likely to do that.
Are we not going to get any, and a genuine question, not a challenge, are we not going to get any of those Brexit Labour voters hearing what Reform are saying quite like in that and them going over?
Well, when we discussed the election study before, a lot of people who are if you're still voting Labour, you're actually really not going Reform. You've already left.
Right. Okay.
Those sort of people have gone. But what really annoys me about what he said, and it really, really wound me up, is he said they're not going to name a Welsh party leader. They're like, we're not going to do it. So what they're going to do, bear in mind, he said we're going to form the next government, but they're not going to name the leader. What his plan is that there will be the Senate election. We'll see what candidates Reform get, and then they will vote to choose a leader from that. And we see this again and again with Reform. They don't ever get called out for it. They are trying to have their cake and eat it. They are trying to position themselves as, we are a really new party. We're still trying to develop. We're trying to learn at the moment. But they're also saying, oh yeah, we will form the next government. So they're not putting forward any policies, really. No. I mean, we want to reform the state. Well, give us some details then. Put some meat on the bones. They can't even be bothered to put forward a Welsh leader. Can you imagine, like, if the Tories didn't have a Welsh leader? The idea...
I can actually.
Yeah. Kind of what it feels like right now, actually.
But it really, really winds me up because they're and when I interviewed Oliver Lewis, I found him, he seemed like didn't dislike him. He was
it kind of feels sensible given where he is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you expect them to be batshit. But this is the thing. When we expect them to be batshit, they're dangerous because they're not. Do you know what I mean? You underestimate them, and then you have somebody like this who's clearly quite cerebral, and that's how they do well.
Yeah, this isn't 2016 UKIP. This is they've learned from this. They are.
He actually said that. He said that UKIP were an embarrassment when they were in. He was, but it winds me up because they are running to be in the Welsh Parliament and they haven't even named a Welsh leader. Now, they're not naming a Welsh leader because they don't want anyone to challenge Brand Farage, do they?
Yeah,
they don't anyone to be...
Well, they know that he's more popular, than other Welsh leaders, right?
Yeah.
But as you say, the Brands. So, and what Labour did by not putting MS's names on the ballot is it's just going to be a party thing, so if Reform equals Farage, they're voting Farage.
Yeah, and we see with like people on the right of politics, as with people on I'm not saying far left or far right, people who are towards the side of the spectrum, as it were.
They're towards the door. They're kind of stepping out the door slightly.
They're towards the door. The thing that they hate more than their opponents, ultimately, is each other. So as soon as you name a Welsh party leader, everyone who's not that person is really annoyed. And that they quite like the idea that people can be ambitious and can politic and trying to... Because as soon as you name a leader, you make it so that there's someone to aim at and there's someone to interview. And they quite like the idea that essentially they're saying vote for Nigel Farage, even though he is not running. And I think it is incredibly disrespectful for Wales that they can't find within their ranks someone who can be their leader. And the fact that they're saying to people of Wales, vote for us, we're going to form the next government, but who will be the First Minister? Wait and see.
Yeah, Farage doesn't care about the people of Wales. He doesn't care about the day-to-day lives of people of Wales, in my opinion.
Well, when I interviewed him and I said about the largest public sector organisation that's been in special measures, he didn't know that was Betsy Cadwallader Health Board in North Wales. Now, I don't blame people who are just normal people in Wales for not knowing that, but Nigel Farage is putting himself in front of the people of Wales and saying, my party is going to make things better for you, and yet he doesn't have any interest in the basic issues that they are facing. It is essentially vote for my party, vote for my company, which I own, because Reform is a company. There are so many issues in Wales, and there are so many issues with how Wales is run and how Wales is governed. And what annoys me is people piggybacking on those issues and telling people who have real rights to feel annoyed, vote for us, when they haven't got fucking any intention of using it as anything other than a jumping off point for the next general election.
But the thing is, there will be people in Wales who feel like we've had the evolution for how many years now and no one's listened to us, and these people are saying what we're thinking. I think this is what is powerful about them. I don't like it and I feel as enraged as you do, but this is why it's working.
Yeah,
it's going to work.
Well, what parties that aren't Reform need to do is two things. Firstly, if you're in power, you need to actually do something to improve the lives of people, which we say every single week. You're about to get a big windfall from Westminster. Why don't we actually do that in a way that people feel better? I don't know why I'm gone mad on the 50 pence bus trips, but for example...
Reform success is a huge failure of Welsh Labour, Welsh Conservatives implied, in my opinion. I think if Reform make huge successes in the Senedd election, the failure lands squarely on the shoulders of those three main parties for not calling them out.
Do you think that they want to form the next Welsh government, or do you think they want to be just on the cusp and still be opposition?
That is a very good question. So the positives for them if they form the next government is, hey, look, we're this...
Government in waiting in the UK.
In the UK. The problem that they do is they then have to do stuff. They then have to run things. They then have to put their names to things. It would be, you know what, I'll go out and say it'd be absolute scandal city if you had all these people who've never been in...
That's the name of Cardiff now.
Yeah,
Scandal City.
We changed it.
I reckon from Farage's point of view, he would most want them to be the opposition and to have a Plaid and Labour and Green coalition, which essentially they are the opponents of. So everything that goes wrong, they can just sit on the side, they can essentially just snipe and say, look what we can do. Look at how Reform are holding these lefty awful people.
I agree. I think they're a born opposition party, but to give them any kind of... You saw what happened in Europe when he was an MEP. He didn't vote on anything. He used it just as a way of like sticking two fingers up at the rest of the EU.
Let's wave some flags.
Yeah. So I don't think that being in government would suit them. The fact that they won Brexit, they won that, but then had no plan to actually, do Brexit. There was no actual policy in that kind of thing. I think shows exactly we're a protest party, but when you put us in charge, in a position of power, we don't know what the fuck to do. Then they have no end game. They're the kind of people that want someone to break up with their boyfriend and then go pick me, and like, oh, actually, no, I'm a piece of shit.
Nigel Farage
That's not very personal. Are you okay?
Yeah.
I feel like I really saw an element
He
of
hasn't
you.
called. Nigel, if you're watching,
Nigel Farage's career can be best defined and understood by seeing that every single decision and every single comment and every single move is all done for the betterment and advancement of Nigel Farage, both in terms of image, financially, and politically.
well, it's Trump as well, right? It's exactly the same playbook.
Yeah, and the people who are opposed to Farage, I think this is how they all have to handle things slightly differently. So Plaid, there aren't going to be a lot of movements between voters going, oh, shall I vote Plaid or will I vote Reform?
Sure.
So what
What
Plaid...
an interesting person you'd have to be to have those as your decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out what they look like.
Yeah,
And do you know what?
Yeah.
It's going to keep me up at night. Yeah.
Plaid need to go all in on making sure that they maximise their vote from Labour. That is the biggest movement to them. They need to mobilise their base, which I think will be very motivated, but they also need to try and make cut-throughs in the valley. So they, to a certain extent, can say, we are the best opponent.
Protest vote.
If you're scared of reform, vote for us, because we will advocate for Wales, whereas they are a company owned by a bloke in London.
Also, if you're sick of the status quo and you want to protest, give your vote to us. We will actually do things for Wales as opposed to just bankrolling this person.
Yeah. If you are the Conservatives, what you need to do to counter reform is to say, we are the not try and out reform, because that is a beast that is never full. They're never satisfied. You can't try and you can never be far enough. You can never go far enough. You can no one's going to go, well, actually, I like that the Tories have gone really anti-immigration. I'm actually going to leave reform and go to them. It will never be far enough. You can't try and fill it up. What you actually need to do is they need to define themselves as moderate, conservatives, centre-right party. There is a huge market for that. Labour, the way they need to do it is make the govern well. Oliver Lewis seems like not an insane person, but we need to be very rigorous in scrutinising and digesting the things what they're actually saying.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we should try and get Oliver Lewis on, right? We should try and get some reform people on the podcast and work out what they want to do.
I think he's a listener. Oliver, call me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Genuinely, because I think it's really important actually to have those conversations. At the end of the day, if they're going to make these big claims, they could form the next government. Let's chat about it.
100%. I think we've always wanted to talk about policy, and we want to talk about, if we're asking, as you said, if we're asking the other big parties, of which they are probably going to be one, if we're asking them the questions, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Well done, Will.
I feel like I think you need to go to a therapist after this episode. I think you need to go do some breathing, some meditation, maybe do a little cold water dip.
I'm always really hyper conscious with if I ever have rants like that, because ultimately journalists, I think impartiality is important, but I also don't think impartiality is just saying. I think there's very important things that journalists at the BBC and ITV do, where they are incredibly balanced and say, this is what a person has said, this is what someone else has said, and they allow people to form their own view. And I think there's a huge, huge value in that kind of journalism. My stance has always been essentially it's pro-Wales, and it's wanting things to be as good as possible in Wales. And I just look at reform and I find it very hard to convince myself that what they're offering at the moment is what Wales should be taking. So yes, I do need to go and do a cold water dip. What other things? Maybe a digital detox.
Yeah, I would say so. Turn Twitter off, X, whatever. Look, are you a dry robe wanker? Because I am.
A dry robe wanker?
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to wear a dry robe anywhere other than on a beach.
Oh, I wear mine everywhere, right? I wore mine to the rugby and there was hate.
Do you wear it around Fontana?
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
Me and the yummy mummies. I push a pram, nothing in it.
Yeah.
And
Spit take.
You guys have done that to me so many times.
Nice.
2 episodes in a row.
Big fan of that.
Everyone, do you know what? Come for me. I wear my dry robe, and do you know what? I'm snuggly, I'm dry, and I'm warm. Okay,
Yeah.
shoot me.
We should try and get sponsorship from Dry Robe.
Oh my gosh, imagine.
Imagine if we were all in branded dry robes.
So we'd be roasting.
Oh my God.
I'm quite warm in this. to
Going
be honest with you.
absolutely mad.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what, guys? I got quite a few comments from last week's ep asking me about my Snog Marry Lloyd jumper.
I bet.
Yeah, I got quite a few, which, not about the content or anything I spoke about,
No,
but
no.
hey, I was flattered. I was flattered.
It's a lovely jumper.
Yeah, what have you got going on? Anything to plug? Anything going on?
That's a really good question. I've got 2 days of my tour to go.
Yes.
One in Winchester. I can't imagine there's a massive spike in Winchester, but if you want to come to Winchester, that's in January. And the final ever show of it in Cardiff at the Glee on the 9th of February, which is like the extra show.
Good.
So you can come along to that if you fancy it. Get tickets on robinjmorgan.co.uk.
Will, anything that you want to plug?
After this, I've got to file my latest piece for The Guardian, looking at Welsh politics. I've also got to write some newsletters. So if you enjoy these rants and would like them to be more eloquent, please do sign up for my newsletter, which is the Will Hayward newsletter, which is essentially the front page of my journalism. It funds me directly. If you want to support independent media in Wales, that's how you can do it.
Wonderful. Well, I read it and I really enjoy it.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah,
I've done that joke so many times. Anyone listening to this has probably heard me do that.
I have a show I have 2 left of my show Chunky Monkey. So I have one in the London Welsh Centre on the 24th of January. Please come if you're in London. It'll be nice to see some Welsh faces. And also in Cardiff there, the Wales Millennium Centre on the 8th of February. That would be lovely if I could see you guys.
I saw it in Edinburgh. It was bloody good.
Oh, thank you.
Annoyingly, my mum still talks about it.
Oh, I love that. I love getting the mums in.
Mums are a very loyal follower.
They are. They're great, and then they message you on Instagram after to be like, "Hi, sweetie, that was great," and it warms my heart so much.
We are also planning more visitor questions. So for Wales, seawales@gmail.com if you would like to send them in. The people sending for more on North Wales, I hear you. Someone actually sent some really good ideas for a North Wales episode.
Nice.
It's going to happen, but yes, you don't need to keep telling me.
Yeah, or cheeky live in gallery. Can I add one? Just if people want it, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, put that date in your diary for the live episode, Sunday the 2nd of March, at the Glee Club in Cardiff.
Wonderful. Well, guys, I've been Mallow.
I've been Robin Morgan.
I'm Will Hayward.
Goodbye.
Bye. Au revoir.